The Skin Collector. The demon that peels Ravenshade Cemetery was not a resting place. It was a feeding ground, a place where the earth itself pulsed like rotting flesh, where the soil was soaked in screams, and where bodies never stayed buried. The townspeople never spoke of what lived beneath. They only prayed that it would never wake up. Victor Halloway didn't believe in legends. At 2:59 a.m., he stepped through the rusted gates. The instant his boot touched the ground, the earth shuddered. Not like dirt shifting, not like a distant tremor, but something wet, something alive. The ground breathed beneath him, a slow, sickening pulse. Then a sound. Not the wind, not an animal, but a whisper. "Your skin, it fits me." The words came from below, muffled, slithering up from the soil like a voice spoken through a layer of flesh. Victor's stomach twisted, his breath hitching in his throat. The earth rippled beneath him. Something was waking up. Something was hungry. He turned to leave, and the graves opened. Not like holes, not like cracks, but like festering wounds, splitting apart, spilling out rotting hands. They burst from the ground, grabbing at his ankles. Some were skeletal, their bones blackened, splintered. Some were swollen and split, leaking thick, yellow pus. One hand latched onto his calf, mushy, soft, like overcooked meat. Victor screamed. Then, a new grave appeared, a fresh one. The tombstone was cracked, but the words carved into it were clear. Victor Halloway's skin removed. Meat consumed, bones left to rot. His breath hitched, the ground beneath him split open, and it crawled out. It was not human, it was stitched from suffering. It slithered from the grave, pulling itself up on too many arms. Its body was patchwork flesh, stitched together from dozens of victims. Some fresh, some rotting, some gray with decay, hanging loose like wet rags. The seams oozed, the stitches twitched, its torso bulged, not like muscle, but like something was moving inside it. Its face, oh God, its face, was not one face. It was many, dozens of stitched-together expressions, lips sewn into grins, some still twitching, some frozen in screams. And its mouth, not teeth, not a tongue, but rows and rows of twitching, bloody fingers clawing at its own throat, desperate to escape. It smiled, then it spoke. "You will be my new face." The skinning ritual Victor ran, but the graves burst open. Bodies crawled out, not whole, pieces. A woman's head, her jaw torn off, crawling toward him on spindly, centipede-like fingers. A torso with no arms, dragging itself forward by its tongue, the wet muscles slapping against the dirt. A man with no skin at all, his muscles raw and weeping, his eyes missing but his mouth moving, still screaming. They swarmed him, holding him down. The demon loomed over him. Its claws sank into his face, and it peeled. Not cutting, peeling. Victor's skin came off in slow, wet strips, like damp wallpaper tearing away. His muscles pulsed, blood vessels burst, and his left eye popped loose, hanging by a thread. The demon didn't stop. It peeled him completely, his chest, his arms, his legs, until Victor was nothing but twitching, red meat. His face, it was stretched and stitched onto the demon's face. The demon turned to him, wearing his face, smiling. Victor screamed, but he wasn't dead, no. The Skin Collector didn't kill its victims. It kept them alive, kept them aware. His face was still alive, still screaming, just not on his body anymore. The final horror, Victor lay on the ground, his fleshless body twitching, his exposed nerves raw and screaming. The demon reached down. It peeled open his ribs, like a coffin being pried apart. Inside, Victor's lungs still moved, still breathed. The demon plucked his vocal cords, pulling them like violin strings. "Let's hear you scream forever." Then, it pulled out his tongue, slowly, stretching it, wrapping it around its fingers like a prize. Victor couldn't pass out. The pain wouldn't let him. He was alive, he was aware, and he would never die. The cemetery's new watcher. The next morning, Ravenshade Cemetery was silent. The fog curled around the graves. By the rusted iron gate, a man stood. His skin was smooth, too smooth. His smile was too wide. His eyes, Victor's eyes, were black, empty, hollow, waiting for the next visitor, for more skin, because the Skin Collector always needs a new face.